Welcome to Bet the Edge, everyone. Thanks everyone watching our NBC Sports YouTube channel. It's the Will Capper and V Money Sports. It's a Thursday. We're covering the NFL, we're covering the NBA, and we're covering college basketball. All that more on Bet the Edge. It's going to be a good day. And Drew, where are you going looking all snazzy?
Work meeting. I honestly,
Makes
you just
sense.
said we're doing basketball and football. I thought we were just going to victory lap Michigan for 20 minutes. No.
Oh, and we can do that because I still got the victory dance down, baby. But woo! What a season, Drew.
Let's go
What a
Wolverines.
season, man.
Let's
Let's
go
go
Big Blue.
Wolverines, man. It was it was a great game. We'll touch on that for 1 second, but it was a great game, and I want to give a shout out to Brad Thomas and Eric Froton as well. I did a show with them all season long on Fridays or Saturdays, depending on the season, and wow, over 80 units combined from the three of us.
Nice work.
35 units for myself, 60% or better from Eric and myself. It was a great year. So college football is in the rearview mirror, Drew. I know that makes you happy, makes me sad. But now we can focus on the NFL, which is your wheelhouse. And there's some props to talk about, man, because the playoff leader props to me is an area where there's a lot of money to be made, but it's hard to single out who really should be the favorites. And I'd love to hear some of your ways of approaching these markets, whether it's the passing yards, receiving, rushing. It's got to be the teams you expect to go a little deeper, games played, right?
Yes, you basically have to
Obviously.
put a line through the one seeds. There's one fewer game for them, and honestly, like I think the even though the one seeds are more likely to be in the Super Bowl and that is the makeup game, presumably it won't be one versus one in the Super Bowl. There will be some chaos. And so really, if you can find find two teams that will have success wild card weekend, play divisional weekend, and then have an outside chance to get to the Super Bowl, that's where you're really going to nail down some of these markets. So I'm looking squarely at 2 and 3 seeds in the AFC. And I'm looking at some of the longer shots in the NFC. I think in general, the NFC is a little bit flatter, a little bit more chance for chaos, a little bit lower confidence that the Cowboys and the Lions are going to meet again in the divisional round. And so I think shopping around in the 6 and 7s for some longer prices is a fun way to play the NFC. Whereas for some of these you just kind of have to live with who of the Bills and Chiefs looks likely to explode. Of course, the other huge wrinkle, my friend, is venue. Some of these games and some
Yeah,
of these totals, like a
weather.
Bills total, it's 36, man, 36 and a half. The Lions, Rams is 51 and a half. I think fair for Cowboys, Packers should be like 52. So, totals are definitely important to think of, particularly when it comes to some of the receiving superlatives.
Yeah, very interesting points you made there. Definitely stay away from overs in the Buffalo and Pittsburgh game. I've been experiencing the wind out here in the Pittsburgh area the past few days, and it's been all about the 40, 50 miles per hour they've been talking about. Seeing
Whoa.
things get swept up off the ground and move like trash cans. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I know, right? But it's been crazy. So that's a great point you make there. I was definitely trying to find a couple guys that I might consider. I found for the receiving yards market, name that really caught my eye, which made no sense to me, Drew, was Rasheen Rice for
Mm.
Kansas City, 14-1, one of those weather games as well. Kansas City's supposed to be pretty cold, pretty snowy, not ideal over weather there. So when I was looking at this market, man, you obviously see Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would probably be more inclined to take St. Brown than Hill or the leader in the club, CeeDee Lamb. But is there anyone on this market that you would probably target?
Yeah, so again, kind of going back to venue, going back to game state, give me a Ram and give me a Packer. I
Okay.
think realistically, the Puka Nakua for the Rams is probably the most exciting to me because his role is so entrenched right now. And there is a risk that Cooper Kupp, I don't know how often he'll be targeted. He certainly is lacking a little bit of chemistry with Stafford right now. And you do have a potential path here where you could get 2 indoor games to start a run for the Rams. So Puka Nakua for me at price is worth a look. It's a longer shot, I know,
30 to
but I
1.
like the Rams to make a run anyway. And so, yeah, 30-1, I think is worth a grab. And then this is much tougher because they obviously spread the ball around so aggressively for Green Bay. But the price for Reed looks too good to be true.
He's been
He
playing
has kind
really
of emerged.
well.
He's been playing really well, and he's kind of emerged as a key cog in the Packers offense. And you can shop around. I think you can find 100 to 1 on him to lead receiving. And honestly, if you've seen the Green Bay defense, you know they can't be trusted. If Green Bay makes a run, it's going to have to be scoring 30 points a game. And I think he actually has a couple of favorable matchups where you're drawing a coverage for the Cowboys that can be beat. And then you head out to San Francisco. San Francisco is dealing with a number of injuries in their secondary. So definitely kind of a nice little recipe for Reed to be a dynamic force in the passing market. And, I don't really love any of the chalk, honestly, because there's just so many options, so many guys who are,
Mhm.
kind of crossover here. I guess if I was to take one swing on, somebody sort of chalky, Zay Flowers, 35 to 1 sounds interesting because
Okay.
in the absence of Mark Andrews, he's been a little bit of a safety blanket for Lamar. And if you told me that Baltimore was actually going to, play 3 games this year and potentially win a Super Bowl, I think it does depend a lot on Flowers having a little bit of a step forward. So those are the 3 shots that really stood out to me. Who do you like in this market?
Well, I want to say I like your calls on the receivers there, especially for the Rams and the Packers, because those are two teams that, while they can win those games, they'll likely be playing from behind in those games, being forced to throw a lot. We know Jordan Love is a guy who struggles at some points under pressure earlier in the season, got much better down the stretch. So I was interested in the Packers there +7. But my actually favorite bet in the entire market between passing, rushing, and receiving is the rushing yards leader. Because
Ooh.
I am going chalk, Drew. It is Christian McCaffrey, plus
Yes. Yeah.
185. James Cook, yeah, he had his few weeks. He had some great runs, right? Kyron Williams has been one of the biggest surprises of the season, 11 to 1. But you need the Rams to win more than one game. They have to beat the Lions, and that game is going to be a great game. But there's no one else on this list that convinces me. Tony Pollard has been, we can't say he's been a bust by any means. No, not at all. But if you draft him number 5 or 4 in fantasy, he's definitely a bust to you. Singletary is a pass. DeAndre Swift, Jahmyr Gibbs, can't trust these guys right now for that either. Because they split carries. So it seems like Christian McCaffrey is the clear bet here in rushing yards, unless you're going with Lamar Jackson to go crazy.
Lamar doesn't really feel like he wants to run anymore. You know who does?
No,
Josh Allen.
He's Tom Brady 2.0.
Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, either of those two
Yeah,
names strike any interest for you? Because honestly,
Josh
both,
Allen.
number one, Mahomes doesn't run a lot in the regular season, does run much higher clip in the postseason, and just in general, I think he could be a factor on the ground this week. He could be a factor on the ground next week. Josh Allen as well, because of the wind, because of the game state. I think you could see, a lot of attempts for him. And honestly, the cold weather and the type of games that the Bills and the Chiefs would each have to play in order to make it to the final stages here, I do think open up opportunities for their running backs. And Cook at plus 450 is not enough of an interest to get me involved. I agree with you. CMC
Yeah.
of the running backs, you kind of have to stop there. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I do like a little chaos of sprinkling a quarterback because all it takes is a couple of
Mhm.
scampers, a couple of big plays, and just in general, those guys are known to be pretty dynamic on the ground scrambling. So give me a couple quarterback swings in Allen and Mahomes. Give me a little bit of super high long shots on the wild card dogs in the NFC for the receiving.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I might sprinkle a little bit on Josh Allen at 28 to 1. I like that more than Patty Mahomes, but it's obvious the Chiefs receiving core has not been as good since Tyreek Hill has taken his talents to South Beach, Miami. Drew, anybody you want to note on the passing yards leader, or do we just leave it at Lamar Jackson at plus 750?
Lamar Jackson at plus 750 is a
Yeah,
good bet.
yeah, yeah, me too.
I
I figured
I don't think that's
we would
crazy.
both go there.
Honestly,
No,
like if you want a bet that I feel like has higher likelihood than just Baltimore to win the Super Bowl, I kind of like Lamar Jackson at plus
yeah,
750.
I agree.
If they win the Super Bowl, he obviously plays 3 games. That helps him. I have noted at least, and I don't think it's a regular season versus playoff thing, but he is, very much pressing into the passing game here. He's got OBJ at full health, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely. These guys are all capable of big big plays, explosive plays through the air. So pass protection has been phenomenal down the stretch for the Ravens. That has unlocked their offense. I think there are a number of reasons to look for Lamar Jackson in that market at plus 750. We're on exactly the same page there.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. The only one sprinkle I would throw in there, just for gigs, is Baker Mayfield at 18-1, Drew, because if they beat the Eagles, it's going to take him throwing 250, 300 plus, and then the next game you might get the same result because they cannot run the ball worth a lick down there in Tampa Bay. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson, probably the best look, Baker Mayfield the second. That about wraps it up for the NFL with our passing yards, rushing, and receiving yards leaders. I know you and Jay Crouch will have us covered, all that and more with Bet the Edge. So if you guys haven't heard either, though, NBC and Peacock, we're kicking off Super Wildcard Weekend with a bang, Drew. Our doubleheader on Saturday begins at 3 p.m. Eastern as we lead you up to Browns at Texans. Then tune into Peacock exclusive matchup between the Dolphins and Chiefs at Arrowhead at 8. Then the next day on Sunday, we wrap up the weekend bringing you an NFC battle between the Rams and Lions with the cover starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. 3 fantastic games, a rookie quarterback versus Joe Flacco. Arrowhead's going to have ugly weather between 2 good quarterbacks, and Rams and Lions, Jared Goff and Stafford facing their former teams. Oh, Peacock, what are you doing to us? You're keeping us on the couch all weekend. All right. I'm not going anywhere, honestly. But I'll tell you, Peacock doesn't have NBA, Drew. Maybe in the future we can get that going. But we know the NFL is a little more entertaining during the NBA. There's no debating that one. But the regular season is something we'll cover later. Let's talk about the futures market here, though. Let's talk about our favorite bets in the Eastern Conference, and then we'll hit the Western next. I am all out on the Bucs. I'm done.
Really?
I cannot take this defense anymore, man.
Wow.
Yeah, there's none. The drop off between Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard and what that's done for this team defensively has totally I'm dismissed. All right, dismiss me from this classroom. There's been too many games this year where I've either backed the Bucs or I've been watching the Bucs, and I have just left myself wondering: will this team fix their defensive woes by March, April, May? Yeah, they could score 125 and 130 on anybody. But if you're not playing defense, you're not going to win a 7-game series, Drew. So I like the Celtics, man. I'm starting to think they're the clear side here. Maybe they were all along.
I mean, plus 130 is about right by my numbers, but I do think they're clearly the most likely winner. They have the most variable lineups they can run out. They have the most, kind of flexible and fungible defense. And I would expect that just in general, the growing pains that Joe Mazzulla went through last year kind of bear some dividend, and he has more kind of, adjustments up his sleeve this year. I freaking hope so, at least, because all I have is Celtics in this market. I agree with you that Bucks price is poison. And if you wanted to take a crazy long shot, I think you're better off just waiting and trying to bet series against the Bucks. Miami and Philadelphia both stand out as very well coached teams, and I definitely think Griffin could have kind of the first year blues in the playoffs this year. Could be a surprise early exit. So wait for those series prices as opposed to taking these futures prices, because ultimately I agree with you. I think the Celtics are headed to the finals.
Yeah, I'm becoming more and more convinced week by week watching the NBA that Celtics are clearly the better team over the Bucks. And
nobody
we'll
outside of those. Nobody outside of those 4, right?
I don't think it's even worth mentioning right now. I think these teams need to work their way up. And there's been, even Joel Embiid's not been completely healthy. Miami Heat have a range of guys. I mean, 3-4 guys that have been injured so far. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's clearly a 1 or 2 team race with the Celtics being the leader and for a reason. Bucks are number 22 in defensive efficiency, Drew. Boston Celtics, number 2 in the NBA. Let's into the Western Conference then. This one will probably help more opinions, I'd have to hope. Nuggets are leading the club at plus 190. The Clippers have climbed the charts at plus 500. James Harden's actually done huge dividends to that team. And the Suns, that's a talk about poison, Drew. That's poison. Plus 550 for the Suns. I don't want that. No bench, no defense. Anyone down this list? Are we targeting the favorites here? Nuggets, Clippers? You becoming a Clippers fan?
I'm a Clippers. Yeah, I'm a Clippers guy. You can call me
Are
square.
you and Jay are probably
Yeah.
talking to the Clippers all the time. I could already see it. I hate
I
it.
mean, dude, you have three superstars who are still in the peak of their powers or at the very tail end of the peak of their powers. Like this has all the whiffs
Yeah.
of the Warriors run from 2 years ago. It's an exciting story because the Clippers pushed all their chips in the table and like literally mortgaged the future for this particular outcome. And this is their last realistic year where these guys are going to be at or near their peak. I think Kawhi is performing at a level that people are kind of ignoring. Nobody even bothers mentioning him for the MVP because we know he's going to miss a ton of games, but he's playing that well. And Harden has been kind of the exact secret sauce to help this team get regular season wins. And I think once we get to the playoffs, it'll tilt back to, hey, if Harden no shows for the Clippers, so what? Paul George is playing elite basketball right now. Kawhi Leonard is playing elite basketball right now. I think the bubble upset of the Nuggets coming back and taking out that Clippers team. Revenge is come due, man. This year, I think the Nuggets are going down to the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Beyond those two teams, I agree with you. The Suns' price is poison. The T-Wolves are fake. Not fake, but they're a regular season darling. They're not going to be able to do much in the playoffs, I don't think. I think the Thunder clearly need to go through some growing pains, and then everyone else on this list is fatally flawed. If you forced me to take a long shot, I don't mind Pelicans at 25-1 just because they have had a little bit of playoff. Like they've tried. They've gone to the bat together. They've gone to war together. And you do have CJ McCollum, who has a little bit of experience, and you have Herb Jones, who I think can be a dynamic playoff kind of defender. So there's enough there for me to consider that at the absurd price that we see. But cards on the table, the only bet I've made is Clippers, and I think at 5-1, there's still a little bit of juice in that.
I'm gonna let the Pelicans one slide because it's grossing me out, man. It's literally making me squirm in my chair. I'm like, ew, the Pelicans? No way. But I do like the Clippers in the last 15 games, man, 12-3, a 124.8 offensive net rating, only second behind the Boston Celtics. The Thunder are third, Nuggets fourth, and Bucks are fifth in that range. So a lot of the teams we just talked about higher up on these lists are having the best offense. But the Clippers, also playing good defense, man. 113.2 defense in that stretch gets them number 8 overall, right next to the Nuggets. So I can understand your sentiment here for the Clippers. They've been a team I've loved to talk smack on the past 2-3 seasons, and it's really they've really responded in making me money by letting me talk smack on them. But this year I'm starting to see that switch, that change. And while I'm not able to commit, I think the Nuggets are the clear number 1. I think the Clippers are the clear number 2. And I'd be willing to take my long shot, Drew, on the Lakers at 14-1. Yes, like LeBron said, we suck right now. Yes, you guys do, but you won't suck for long. They got depth. So I like the Lakers. You like the Clippers. The Battle of LA's. Maybe we'll get a little bet going later in the year.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
We'll see. But glad we agree at least on the Eastern Conference. Let's over to my wheelhouse. Let's talk about college basketball because I got 2 bets out I want to run by you today. We've seen movement on a lot of them. We'll start in the Big Ten. And I placed a bet on Purdue at minus 140 to win the Big Ten after they lost to Northwestern. Felt great about it up until Purdue loses on the road to Nebraska. And I'll tell you, the Cornhuskers, they don't play no games at home, Drew. They are a good home team. But as we know, the Big Ten is full of good home teams. So Purdue's now sitting at minus 210. Not bettable still, in my opinion. I wouldn't tell you run out to the window and grab that unless you're parlaying it. But those Wisconsin Badgers, they're a pesky team at 4-1 right now. Do you have any opinions on this market? Have your sharps told you anything outside of Purdue?
I mean, I've just always been holding my breath on Purdue and waiting to bombs away fade them when we get to tourney time. But
they're different. It's different now.
It's different now. Regular season is different. Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Even more than just the regular season is different. The regular season, the Big Ten conference is different. Weaknesses that really stand out to me for this Purdue Boilermakers team really aren't that relevant for the rest of this competition. Purdue should walk this one in. And minus 210, I don't actually hate that as sort of a relatively high confidence leg to parlay with some awards bets, things like that. If you're trying to increase your liquidity in some of those markets, I don't think that's a terrible call, because that's going to get resolved around the same time, or maybe even before the NBA awards bet. So not crazy to consider Purdue there. And I mean, I've just been kind of disappointed in the Big Ten broadly this year. And Wisconsin is a
They're
team that
down. They're really
I'm
down.
Wisconsin may be a bet in certain games, but I very much don't trust that team on the road. It's a team that is. I've lost too much money on that team. They're just the offense. The offense, vacate. It no shows at the wrong time. I feel like too often. So for me, it's going to be a hot pass on the Badgies. But that said, there's that they do look like the likely number 2 in that conference, and who knows? Maybe they show up come Big Ten tourney time.
Yeah, the rest of the Big Ten is really going to be a coin flip right now. I wouldn't advise anyone to be putting money on, an Ohio State or a Michigan State at this point. These teams don't look quite. I mean, Maryland's down. Illinois lost a really good player. Rutgers is down offensively as well. Indiana might be taking a step up. That might be the 3rd or 4th team in this conference, but still, we still have to wait and see by that one. But Purdue, Drew, the thing we hated them last year is they had 2 freshman guards. Those 2 guards have did so much better. Lawyer is now strapping about 40, 50, 90 type player, might join the 40, 50, 90 club. Braden Smith leading the team in assists with about 7 per game. They got some extra size down low. So Purdue definitely has got better in a lot of areas that we hated them last year in.
Okay.
But the one area they still don't do anything with is forcing turnovers, Drew. And we know that's going to catch up to them. So I still don't think they win the entire national championship. I think they actually make a run this year. They're a Sweet 16, Elite 8 type of team. They win the Big Ten. But, they look better, but they're still not quite what we'd want out of them.
Yeah.
So Purdue is the best bet.
Yeah, if this is the first time you're listening to us, you don't know what we're talking about. There's a specific correlation between not being able to force turnovers and being a fragile team. Fragility. There is no best of 3, best of 5, best of 7 in the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure if you know this, but it's single elimination. If you didn't already know that, you shouldn't be betting college basketball. The fact that it is single elimination, the fact that if you are up against a team that happens to be having a hot half or a hot game from 3, you must force turnovers to get extra possessions to make that up. And Purdue just doesn't really do it. So that is a little bit of what we call a fatal flaw.
Yeah, their loss to Nebraska was a case that every time they turned the ball over, Nebraska capitalized and scored, and Purdue did not force any turnovers on Nebraska. Boilermakers last in the Big Ten through Big Ten play. Turnover percentage on defense, 11.7%. Absolutely abysmal. And they're also letting their opponents shoot 42% from 3 so far. So we'll see. Well, I said Purdue's a good bet at minus 140. I wouldn't lay the 210 unless you're going with his next play, Drew, in the Big 12. Because I sent this out on X a few days ago, and I said, listen, Houston is going to Iowa State as a 2.5-point favorite. If you didn't already play the Kansas Jayhawks at plus 280, this is the last chance you're getting to get them above plus 200. Because if Iowa State wins, which they did, Kansas will be the favorite in the Big 12. That is true now, 2 days later. Kansas is now the favorite, sitting around plus 165 to plus 195. Houston's second. We have to remind ourselves also, while Houston, to me, is the better team in March than Kansas. I don't know if you'll debate that, Drew. Houston's going through the Big 12. They are navigating this conference for the first time ever. You're bound to run into pitfalls. You're bound to have a losing streak. This is not the American Athletic Conference anymore. So Kansas, to me, was the obvious play, and now it's the best play.
I don't hate that at all because, as you mentioned, first time through, a lot of unfamiliar venues.
Yeah.
A lot of good home court advantage.
A lot of them.
And so, you're going to have stub your toe. And honestly, like I'm a holder of, I think 8-1 on Houston ship, and I still like it. And I'm happy to see them have like a hard fought loss at Iowa State. I'd like to see them have a couple more because like a loss like that, I literally came out of that game and I was like, okay, like you can learn up something from that. Like you're going to learn about
sure.
yourself. You're going to take another step forward. Like you want your program to be taking steps forward, not like, God, we're still undefeated. Are we going to go undefeated all year? You don't want like that kind of like,
Fumble the bag.
yeah, you don't want that kind of pressure. And now they can kind of reset and really kind of refocus. But to your point of the regular season record, Kansas has been there. They've done it. They're talented as heck. Very, very likely to see them win the title of Big 12 regular season champs. But I think ultimately, I still tip Houston when it comes to lifting up the natty.
Yeah, and Houston's next game is a road game on a Saturday, which we know always is great for the underdogs at TCU. Yeah,
Oh, no.
I'm like,
oh
no.
Is it?
But
all right, if you
I'll
haven't
say
bet
this,
Houston
everyone.
and you like my breakdown, wait until after they lose to TCU.
Yeah, wait until after Saturday to bet them. Yeah, I think they'll win on Wednesday and next Saturday, Texas Tech and UCF. So those are two teams they can beat. But
yeah,
I'll say this because Drew made a point about the turnovers forced on defense and why Purdue is not a team we can look for. Houston's a team we look for in that department because they lead the country in turnover percentage forced, 27.2%, almost 2.5 times what Purdue does. But Houston only shooting 66.8% from the free throw line, 306 in the country. So
gotta fix that.
Something to keep our eyes on moving forward, my friend. But lots of great breakdowns on the futures markets and some odds for the NFL. What's your favorite pick from the show, whether it's the futures market or it's the NFL with those props?
I like Jalen Reed, most receiving yards, 100-1.
Disgusting.
I think it's a wild one, man. I really think you could have 3 indoor games here if the Packers can make some noise. And I know it's insane. Like you got a debutante quarterback, you got a tough path, but that price doesn't really reflect the game state and how many points the Packers are going to have to score if they do anything.
I'll throw $5 on it, man. But no more. No more. But
lunchtime
I like
money.
that.
Lunch money, buddy.
Yeah, let's say lunch money. We're bringing it back, baby. I haven't played much lunch money picks in a while because college football season. But now that the NBA's come back, there's gonna be lunch money's back. I'll put it that way, Drew. But my favorite play in the futures market, man, I really like the Kansas call, but I mean, go from 280 to 165. I'm not gonna make that my best bet. I'll say Christian McCaffrey, rushing yards leader at plus 185. I really do like that one. I think that's one that I'm going to make a 1 or 1.5 unit bet for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and go with CMC, who looks to be the offensive player of the year too, and ruining my Tyreek Hill at 8-1 and 12-1. Gotta love it. But that's why
they still got to count the votes, man. They still got to count the votes. I've heard some Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to hedge, man, because Mama didn't raise a quitter. Mama didn't raise a hedger. Mama didn't raise a gardener. But there you go. All that said, that's what I meant to say, Drew. I try to remember what your line was. But great episode as always, man. We'll let you get to your work meeting. You're all dressed all snazzy, and I'm just hanging here at the crib. So thank you to everyone listening and watching. Hopefully you guys can make some money with our wagers from the Well Capper and V-Money Sports. Thank you to our producers, Dan and Adam, for holding us down as always. And don't forget to go to NBCsports.com. Help you out with all your fantasy info or your wagers. We'll see you next time.